It's Hannah.
And Trevor.
And it's Disney Pinsomniac. And we are back. Ooh, 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 ooh. We are back from Japan. And most recently, a trip to Tokyo DisneySea, which was amazing. And we will be doing lots and lots of videos and information about everything we experienced, ate, saw, the whole every 9 yards, all of it. But we thought we would start with a little review of
Fantasy Springs.
Because Fantasy Springs is opening this, like, next week, June 6th.
And we got a little insider scoop because we were allowed inside.
We were not expecting this, and so it was one of the like highlight magic moments of our trip. And I say magic moments because our trip, even when we were in Disney, was full of magic moments, but that was definitely one of them because we were not expecting to get to go and see Fantasy Springs at all. You guys know that when we talked about our trip to DisneySea, we told you we're not going to be able to go to DisneySea, or excuse me, we're not going to be able to go to Fantasy Springs. We're kind of bummed out, but we're going to Japan, we're going to DisneySea. Can't complain too much. But when we got there, when they opened the door, it was kind of unclear in the announcements, but when we went to our first ride, the guy was like, "Did you know that you can go?" And he was excited to speak to us in English because a lot of the people were excited to speak to us in English and was excited to tell us, "Did you check the app? The new land is open." And of course, I had looked on the app right when we got in and done like reservations for other rides, but I hadn't made a ride reservation yet for New Area.
Well, we heard that people were going in early.
But we didn't know that we were like...
We didn't know that we
were part of that, right? And so we did a lot of other things, and then we headed over to Fantasy Springs when we were ready for our premiere access, which was like, it's like the virtual queue for those of you who have not been to DisneySea. They have like a paid version and they have a virtual queue of a few different rides. And so the virtual queue version there is like the premiere access pass, I think. I don't remember which one is the paid and not paid. Either way, it was all virtual. And we could only do one ride when we were there because I did not do the best job of realizing, again, right through the bat, maybe if we had come in right through the gate and reserved like immediately to go on a ride, then we would have been able to fit 2 rides in. But by the time that we went on our first ride at noon, all of the rest of the ride reservations for the rest of the day were done. So we picked our ride based off of Tokyo Disney Land Explorer, TDLR Explorer, his YouTube, and seeing his reviews and ride previews. We were in the queue to go on Tower of Terror, and I was like, okay, which one should we go on? We decided that we were going to go on the Frozen Adventure ride.
Yeah.
We didn't know at the time that this was going to be our one ride that we got to ride in Fantasy Springs, but I am glad it was our one ride. And when our time came up and it was close to our time, and we'd been stacking rides throughout the day, it was around noon. I had this vision in my mind that we were going to be able to go on the ride and that we would walk up, but it really is like the virtual queues that you see at like Disney World or Disneyland when a new ride opens up and you are in the queue, but you are not like... It's
the queue to get into the line,
The queue to get into the line. And so, similar to like Tron, when after we got there, it was actually about an hour wait.
Rise of Resistance too.
Or Rise of the Resistance, when we did the virtual queue, it was like you got on the app, you reserved it, and then you got to come back and wait an hour in the line. When we were going to get to the ride, we did kind of rush through the first section of Disney's Fantasy Springs, and then we came back and enjoyed it after we had finished the ride. But they did a really interesting thing where at the front of the entrance to Fantasy Springs, they had all of these signs where people could take like a photo spot pass, where it was like 10 days to go, 15 days to go to Fantasy Springs, which I thought was kind of like funny because like we're all also like walking into Fantasy Springs. But I know that it is different because like that was just like kind of luck, I think, that we got to be there. I don't even know if they're doing that every single day. What I will say is that when we got to the Frozen ride, we got in line and most of the queue was outside, which was a little bit odd because the theming was really well done in the indoor part of the queue.
Yeah, and when you got inside, it just, like, you passed a certain point and then basically just, like, walked quickly through the whole thing. I do remember that thinking that was a little bit odd. I don't know, a lot of it was stairs inside.
So maybe they didn't want us like waiting on the stairs. I'm not sure.
I don't know if that matters, but yeah, I kind of, it was kind of awkward because like I said, at a certain point, you just kind of started, like, they just let you through and you started walking, and I wanted to stop and kind of look at all of the queue and everything, but it was weird because you didn't want to, like, stop and wait and have, like, people start accumulating behind you as you're, like, looking around, and so it kind of felt like you just had to kind of walk straight through to the actual ride. So that was a little bit odd. I'm not sure. I assume there's
got to be some logic or reason to it, but I would have personally preferred if we had been able to queue in the new area. We queued still in the new area, obviously, but it was outside in the covered area, and then no one got to see the inside area line waiting until we were just like basically walking through it. Kind of like how in Indiana Jones, if you pay for like a lightning lane, you kind of miss a lot of the cool parts of the queue. It did feel like a little bit like that. So I don't know if that will change when they open it up officially. I did take some video footage, and Trevor did as well, that we'll put in here that shows kind of some of the cool things. It was really excellently themed.
Yeah.
And when we went up the stairs to go down to the loading area, it was really cool. They had like this overview with all these flowers as you're in like the castle, it felt like. It was really, really cool. The Frozen ride itself was a water ride. I did get a little bit wet, but it wasn't like splash wet, like splashing wet. It was just like part of the boat got water in it. I do think that has to do with the fact that we were in the back of the ride vehicle, and because we were in the back of the ride vehicle, this ride moves backwards a lot.
Yeah.
Not expecting that, but it moves back a lot, and because of that, it was like I was at the front of like a typical log ride or Pirates of the Caribbean, where you get wet more in the front. But because we were moving backwards, I got a little bit more wet on one side. It was really cool. It was obviously gonna all be in Japanese, so like if you're one of those people who are like, if it's not in English, I'm not gonna, like, bummer. It's a Japanese theme park for Japanese people. It was all in Japanese, but it was still really cool.
Yeah, not too hard to follow, I would say, otherwise, especially if you've seen Frozen, like the first one.
It was pretty much just like a play-by-play through the movie. A lot like traditional dark rides that Disney does, where they go through the plot of the movie. The ride kind of walked you through the movie. It did have some cool, really cool moments of like overlaying the projections with the physical special effects. And that was really cool. There were definitely some wow moments of Imagineering where water turned solid and you weren't sure how it happened. And I did really like that because as you're moving through it, you don't have time to like really look and stare and see like how did they do that? You just have this sense of wonder of like, how did that happen? That was so cool. Really remarkable or magical or whatever you want to call it. So that was really cool. I really enjoyed the Frozen ride, and I was glad that it was the one that we picked because it is, as I can tell, the longest out of all of the rides.
Yes. Many of you have probably, if you haven't been there to see it, many of you might have seen videos of it. I don't think that we didn't take videos of the actual thing, so we won't be putting that in. But it was probably the most advanced animatronics I've ever seen on a Disney ride, probably, and therefore probably ever, really, I would say.
Because they're the newest ones.
Yeah, because they're the new. It's like, I think it's the same generation of what you get on like Rise of the Resistance. It's similar, I would say.
Yeah.
But there were some things that I were like you said, like how did they do that? Like that's pretty incredible. So it was like the most technically, it was probably the most impressive ride I think I've been on in that sense, for sure. And it was nice because it was a little bit longer than I think the other ones are. So.
Yeah. But after we finished the Frozen ride, which again was incredible, I had this beautiful idea that I was going to be able to go to lunch with Trevor at one of the brand new places to eat. I did not realize that they were queuing as well to get into the restaurants.
Yeah, it was like impossible, pretty much.
So I waited and tried and waited and tried. We tried to queue in, we tried to jump in to even see if I could get dinner reservations or anything because I just wanted to like even go into some of the restaurants to see, and no luck. We couldn't get into any of the restaurants. Every time that I tried to like select a dining spot, it would fill up really quickly, and I tried waiting around and just like waiting to do it. What was
Yeah, it was
kind of
like
frustrating about this was that when you actually looked inside, they were not that busy inside for the restaurants. So I do wonder if they'll be doing that in the future as well, or if that was because they just didn't have all of the food ready or prepared, or whatever it was. They didn't want the staff to be overwhelmed, which is totally understandable. Definitely like not mad about it, but it was a little bit disappointing because, again, I didn't realize or know because we didn't plan on doing any of this. This was all a huge surprise.
So let's talk a little bit about what we thought generally, because most of the time we spent in Fantasy Springs was just walking around. And that was really the thing I looked forward to most if we were able to go there, is just to simply see everything. So what were your general impressions because there's kind of various different lands within Fantasy Springs.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts?
There are 3 different areas in Fantasy Springs. We have a Rapunzel area, we have a Frozen area, and we have a Peter Pan area. Now, we spent the least amount of time in what I would say is probably the biggest area, which is the Peter Pan area.
Yeah,
the
definitely.
Peter Pan area has 2 rides versus the other areas that only have 1 ride each. And Peter Pan's area also has a whole boat and the Skull Rock moment. It's very large.
Really, really big.
It's very cool. That was the area we might have spent the least amount of time. All 3 areas have a restaurant. There is a restaurant in Frozen, a restaurant in Tangled, and a restaurant in Peter Pan. The theming was truly incredible. And outside of those 3 areas, there is a general area theme of springing to life magic of Disney. And so when you walk in, unlike anything I've ever seen before, there's these amazing, stunning, like, rock features that have Anna and Elsa, that have Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, and then also have Rapunzel and her hair like swooping with like
Pocahontas is on there.
Yeah, that's on the other side. So actually what happens is you have those 3 main lands on the front facing part, and then you kind of walk through it, and then there's even more rock sculptures with more water features. And it was amazing in the daylight, and it was even better at night. It looks amazing.
Real. It's really like, it looks all real.
Yeah, it looks really like it just came out of the rocks that way, which is really cool.
Truly.
We had a moment when we were on another roller coaster in the park, and I got to see the Neverland like up from above, and that was a real like special magic moment for me personally, because like I wasn't expecting to see it, and suddenly it looks just like in the movies where you have these floating clouds above everything. As far as the theming goes, Arendelle, I think, was probably my favorite part, just because I really liked the Skull Rock and the boat. It was very cool, but I wasn't a huge fan of the Peter Pan. They did some totem poles, and I felt like it was not my favorite thing. It was maybe a little bit insensitive. I have a really good friend who is Native American, and he loves Peter Pan and thinks it's very funny because it's so inaccurate, but I do think like the cultural context of like him finding it funny versus like maybe people having that be their only touch point with Native culture is like maybe a little bit like not my favorite thing. But I am not Native American, so I can't speak super in depth on it. I just was like, why do we have like a totem pole with the like with Hook and Crocodile and Smee on it? I don't know, just not my favorite theming, I guess, really.
It definitely is like made me realize that they would never do like a Peter Pan land in America, I feel like, nowadays. I just don't think that they would do that.
And I think part of that is also because like the popularity is just different.
Yeah.
In the Peter Pan area, they also have like the fairies are a really big part of that, and Tinkerbell is a really big part of that. Now, as someone who did like dabble in the early 2000s like fairy books and like Tinkerbell and Fairy Hollow-esque stuff, like I totally see the appeal for that, and I think it's very fun. It's just like I don't have the same nostalgic feel to it. I do think that like the best part of Peter Pan, if we're talking about Peter Pan in general, is the London Tower where they fly over everything when they're in the room. Like the first half hour of the movie is so lovely. When they see Neverland for the first time, they're flying through London, all of that is like so like childhood. It's so magical. And so the part of the land that I like, it was fun to be in Neverland, but like for me, even like the best part of the movie wasn't represented really, which is okay, because I just would say this wasn't for me. It was not for, I'm not the target audience.
Yeah, agreed. I think my favorite as well was Arendelle to see. The theming everywhere was really great. I also liked seeing Rapunzel's tower a lot. That was really cool.
Yeah, so
I like that.
Let's talk first about the Tangled area, which I think is the smallest area. There really only is a tiny little spot that is Tangled. Now, don't get me wrong, like, it is worlds better than any bathrooms at Walt Disney World.
Yeah, that's true.
And it is worlds better than the nothing that we get at Disneyland. But it is smaller than the other two areas. The ride is there, and then the Snuggly Duckling is there. Now, the Snuggly Duckling is super cool. That's where I really wanted to eat because it was so cool.
Yeah.
I definitely would pick that by far out of all of the other restaurants because it is really cool. The tree, like, I don't know even if it's a real tree. I don't know how they did it. It's really cool where the house is like stuck underneath the tree. It's very exactly like the movie. It's super duper cool. And then the tower is really incredible because you are not on the ride, but it's a piece of the ride. Mm-hmm. So you can enjoy it even if you are not on the ride, which is really fun. But it's pretty much those two things. We have like the tower, and then we have like the Snuggly Duckling. And then I would say like the other big area that does feel a little bit more substantial than Tangled in terms of size is the Frozen area, which has two castles in it. It has Elsa's Ice Castle and it has the Arendelle Castle. So when you welcome to Arendelle, pass through the little sign, there's like two areas. There's like the like Norwegian looking like fishing village area, and then there's like the big castle area, and then the ride. The castle that is big, like Norwegian castle, the wood and everything, is the restaurant. And I like don't really have any desire to eat there, like personally. Like the menu did not look appealing to me. It was like much more formal, but it was just like not something I would like pick. It was like roast beef, I feel like. I don't even remember. It was not something I would eat. I still looked to see if we could join the menu though, or the reservation, because I was like, I would like to eat in one of the new areas, but still booked completely out, which again was weird because we could see that there was all of this seating and no one was sitting in it.
Yeah, definitely.
But the Arendelle area also had like two like it had like little bodies of water, so you were like walking over them, which was really cool. So it felt really like you were in Arendelle, which is this cool like blend of like mountaininess and like water, just like how Norway is kind of those like fishing village areas. I would have really loved to have seen an actual like Arendelle shop, because there's these little cute little shops all up there, and they are all not real storefronts.
Yeah. Yep, and I liked seeing the Frozen ice castle.
So
really
cool.
That was probably one of my favorite
That
parts.
was one of my favorite parts. And at night, it was all lit up, which was super cool.
Very, very cool.
And we walked through that part during the nighttime, and all of the little storefronts have little stories, and they are cute, and mostly in English, weirdly. I feel like a lot of that written stuff was in English. But it was definitely like the best, like putting you straight into the movie. I felt like the Arendelle area was like really remarkable.
Yes, definitely.
And it had the fountain like in the movie, it had some sitting areas, but it also just like felt like we were in Frozen.
Yeah, it was really cool.
The scaling was really cool, how they did some forced perspective to make it feel bigger as well. But being able to walk down the little Norwegian street, see the Arendelle wooden castle, and then look the other way and see the Elsa ice castle was very cool.
Really cool.
And then if you pass through Arendelle, you actually get to another like rock formation, and then the Fantasy Springs Hotel, which we did not go into. And there's also a gift shop there, which we saw lots of people wearing lots of really cool new merch, but we did not spend a lot of time in those areas except for to admire the rock fountain, which had one of my favorite moments, which was Sorcerer Mickey.
Yeah, that was really cool to see as well.
The way that the fountain worked, Mickey was making the water, like it looked like it was from the movie.
It was really cool.
It was really cool. Overall, it was an amazing experience to get to see. It was very busy. I do not envy people who are trying to go that first week. I would definitely wait a little bit before trying to go. I know you won't be the first people to go if you wait, but you'll definitely probably have a better experience if you wait, because even the people that like didn't know that it was going to be open like ourselves, it was crammed, and people didn't even plan their trip around being able to go there. So if that gives you any indication on how busy it was, It was slammed.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be way worse on opening week than
Yeah.
this. I think it's gonna be way worse.
Wait a month or two if you can.
Yeah.
If you can't, then go and enjoy it. And to quote the woman who told us we couldn't get onto the Tangled ride, go walk around and take some pictures for memories.
Yes, that's
That's
right.
what she said.
Advice.
Which is good advice. I think the theming is unlike anything I've seen at a Disney park. It was amazing.
Really, truly, probably the best I've ever seen. Only, gosh, I would say the only rival I've ever seen is Galaxy's Edge.
Galaxy's Edge, and then also I would say like Disneyland just has better theming in general than than Disney World does. So New Orleans Square in Disneyland is really well themed and really looks just like New Orleans. So I'd say like some of the theming in Disneyland, if we're talking about like the scale, does come close to the theming in Fantasy Springs, but I do feel like it was just next level in terms of straight from the movie.
But we want to hear from you guys. Are you guys planning a trip to Fantasy Springs? What are your thoughts about everything related to Fantasy Springs?
What would you like to ride if you were to
Yeah.
go? Is there an area that is like calling your name that you're super nostalgic about? Let us know in the comments below.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye!